Welcome, pudding people, to another episode of Everybody Loves Pudding. I am your host, Ken Vanilla Seymour, with your co-host, Richard Chocolate Geiger. How are you, good sir?
Smooth and creamy.
That's how we aim for it. Natural milk is the key to a good pudding. So, we are excited, we are ecstatic, we are pleased to have you with us with another episode. In fact, this is a continuation episode of what we have already started previously. It is our Part 2 coverage of Origins Game Fair in Ohio from 2019. So you remember a little bit of what we talked about before, right, Richard?
OHIO.
That's right.
You went to a hotel and it wasn't good.
Yes. That will even be in the pros and cons that should be up this week alongside this particular episode. I can't not tell the story. I know the pros and cons is about the convention, but the hotel is connected to the convention in the sense that it's part of the experience.
Part of the experience.
And so it's nothing Origins did, but it was my way to just kind of impress upon readers how important getting a good hotel is.
Money isn't everything.
No.
Wait.
But tetanus can be devastating. That's the second half of that.
Can you get tetanus from cockroaches?
I don't know, but I didn't want to test. Whatever it is, I felt like I caught at least 3 or 4 different diseases while I was in that room.
Don't take a black light with you. It might scare you.
Yeah, I'm fairly certain that's accurate. So, we've already kind of gone over what the convention was like. We've already kind of gone over what the basic concepts of everything were. So what we're going to do now is just kind of lead up to a couple of other really fun conversations that I had while I was there. The great thing about Origins is all of the major board game, card game, tabletop game, RPG developers have a presence. So it gives a chance to kind of know what's coming out, what they're excited about, just the different things going on in the industry. So in our first conversation, I had the opportunity to talk with the nice folks at Yellow. Now, as is a habit with everything that I do my utmost to completely just destroy whatever name I can possibly have. But specifically, I think I've got these ones. Crystal Daniels is who I started speaking with, and then I had the chance to also speak with Diana Ramirez. I was more concerned about Crystal because, I mess it up in front of the people too. Not just on the podcast, because I'm apparently just awful at names.
Builds that humility when you're butchering it in front of their face.
It reminds me that I am just a small speck, a small mote on the planet that could just be so much better. But anyway, it was a fantastic couple of interviews. Crystal gave me a little idea of some of the current stuff that's going on, and then I got some of the history of the company and some other stuff from Diana. So I hope you will enjoy. Here we are in 2019 Origins Game Fair in Columbus, Ohio. I am here with Crystal Daniels with the game company Yellow. Thank you for talking to me today.
Thank you for coming out.
So what exactly do you do for Yellow?
So I am part of the marketing department here at Yellow, and today we are showing you a bunch of our new games that are going to hit the market soon, starting next month all the way until October.
Fantastic. So, all right, we were talking just a minute ago, one of the games that you were really excited about was called Ishtar. Describe that a little bit to me.
Yes, so Ishtar is a tile placement game where you are building glorious gardens from the fountains. It is based on the goddess Ishtar, who was moved by a gardener who was in despair because he couldn't build anything in the desert. So she sent his tears that had fallen through the sand to the underworld, to the other world, back as fountains, so that he could build these great gardens for the king and queen of Babylon.
So what kind of a style of game is this? Is this kind of a light introductory game? Is this intended for people that are experienced gamers to try and get into, or somewhere kind of in between?
It's kind of in between. It's easy to catch on with the story, the structure, the tile placements. You basically use your gems that you collect from placing your tiles to purchase trees, which in turn gather you more victory points for the end. And there are actions that you can also purchase with the gems to be able to gather more points in the end.
That I think is a good description. So for a lot of our friends are always debating about what style of game is kind of more conducive to a group, whether a more solitaire game where we're all doing our own thing, trying to build up ourselves without really any interaction with the other players, whether having a little bit of jostling for position is more fun and we're competitive and trying to take the resources that are there, or whether a cooperative game where we're all working towards the same goal with maybe somebody that's trying to work against the group is more fun. Which of those three would you say this falls into? Are you jostling for position, or is this more of a solitaire game?
You are definitely jostling for a position because you want to be the gardener with the most flower beds and the most fountains in your control to be able to win the most victory points.
Excellent. Well, what's some of the other fun stuff? I see some interesting things here. What's this Double Rumble?
So we have Double Rumble. It is part of our 8-bit box gaming console, and it is a fighting game where pollution has taken over the city, and there are enemies and mob bosses that you can either play solo or with a friend to defeat them and clear the city to be safe and well again.
Excellent. Now, obviously, we're going to have images of all of these up on with the video as we go. I'll take several pictures to kind of give an idea for everybody what to expect. Now, Kanagawa, has that one actually already been out for a little while? This looks familiar.
Yes. So Kanagawa is an anamorphic painting game. It has been out for a while, but we now have Yokai and its expansion. And in Yokai, there are now ghosts and spirits that you can collect to help your paintings, but also need to get rid of by the end because they count against you if you are holding them at the end.
Excellent. Okay, so I got to take one quick break away from the new stuff to ask a couple of questions. Now, Yellow's got a lot of great games. How long have you been with Yellow now?
A month.
A month, okay. So I before I asked the question, I wanted to make sure I wasn't going to be probing into something that wasn't there. But were you aware of the products before working for Yellow? Are you a gamer
I knew they
yourself?
had a large line of games. I was not aware of how extensive that line was, but I am excited to continue playing them and learning more and just getting really fully involved in this different world.
Did they get you to play at least King of Tokyo or King of New York?
I have played King of Tokyo.
Did you get to use the giant dice and the big things? Or
No, but we actually do have the giant setup right behind us if you would like to go play.
Well, you know, it's always entertaining. So that one was a really big hit because it had a very nice aesthetic. It had a simple gameplay. It's a fairly quick game for the most part. Nothing too terribly complex, and it's just kind of a joy to play. What do you know about the history of Yellow potentially before that? Do you know anything in that range?
I know that they're known for their artwork. They're known for the distinct tile pieces and really character features.
Don't worry, there is no wrong answer here. I know I'm putting you on the spot.
All I can say is it's an amazing company to work for.
Yeah.
It's super fun.
I was going to say, they always look like they're having fun. They're always at Gen Con. They're always at Origins. So it's a very bright booth and a very easy place to kind of stop by and take a look. Okay, so I did the segue into the history to get what I could of the history out. I'm sure I'll come back and try and dig into that deeper later. But so tell me, of the games that we haven't talked about yet, what is something that you're kind of excited that's coming about that we haven't talked about yet?
So there is a dexterity party game coming out called Ninja Academy.
Okay.
You and your fellow teammates, or players, I should say, are competing in duels and trials to see which one of you is the master ninja of the academy.
Excellent. So dexterity. So how exactly does this play into dexterity? Are you building something?
So there are different cards for whether you are competing in a collective trial or a duel, and these cards, a lot of people like to say that it's like Meeple Circus, but
Yeah, so long as it works.
so
So is the dexterity actually with the player itself, or is it talking about the dexterity of the character you are playing?
so you yourself.
Okay.
So some of the tasks are each person holds one meeple in their hand, and you throw it in the air and try and catch it, and then you keep adding meeples to your hand until the first person drops it, and then
Okay.
you get victory points based on who can hold the most meeples in your hand.
Okay. Well, that is at least something that most gamers are familiar with already, even if they've never played the game. Okay, that's dexterity. What about something more strategy? I see something called Little Town over here.
Yes, Little Town is a fun game for all members of the family. It is a strategy game where you are using tile placement and worker placement to gather resources and build your own little town.
I think that is more than sufficient. Like I said, we'll have some images to kind of give an idea of what we're working with. Well, I want to thank you very much for taking just a few minutes to tell us about a few of the games that you've got going on here. Is there anything else that we should know from Yellow before we call it a very early day?
Just look out for all of these coming soon, especially at Gen Con.
All right, perfect. Well, thank you again. I appreciate your time.
I appreciate it as well.
All right, so we were just with Christelle. I also have another person to tell us a little bit about the history of Yellow. Diana Ramirez is here with me.
Hello, hello.
I'm ecstatic to get another perspective of the excellent game manufacturer of Yellow. So what do you do for Yellow?
So I am the marketing manager and press relations for Yellow, especially the subdivision, which is Yellow USA.
Well, maybe you can help me break my habit of mispronouncing the game manufacturer name over and over. I've seen it as iYellow, and I've been working on it, and I'm now to the point where I go Yellow, so I will eventually get to just Yellow, and it'll stick.
Yes. Well, it helps remember that everything we have is of the yellow color. So that's how we try to remind our fans to say it. But honestly, like anything else, we respond to whatever you want to call us. But the correct name to say is Yellow.
Okay, I promise. It'll only take me another couple of months. I'm going to get that down. So we were talking a little bit before, and how much we have kind of enjoyed.
Someone is the king of Tokyo.
Yeah. I was actually just about to say how much I enjoyed that game in particular. But I was hoping to get just a little of history about the company, how long you've been together, some of the past triumphs and things like that.
So basically, Yellow, our headquarters is in France. We have a lot of different subsidiaries because we're an international gaming company. We started in Nancy, France, and that was founded in about 2008. And in 2008, we were actually just a distributor. So not a lot of people know that about us, that we were there to help out the market and distribute games. We were not a publisher up until about 2010. And in 2012, we started Yellow USA to try to help and service the U.S. market.
Fantastic. So when did the company make the shift from distribution to games? What's the game that they decided, okay, we've got something to contribute
we need it to be this?
That was Richard Garfield's King of Tokyo. That basically, we met with Richard, and we were in talks with different publishers at that time, and we really felt really passionate about what he was bringing, and we couldn't just turn away. We said, this is how we make our entrance into the market. And we were just amazed by everything, every single dynamic, every single mechanism, and all the concepts and elements that were put into King of Tokyo. And so we felt, you know what, Yellow is going to make the switch. We're going to be a publisher ourselves. And ever since then, we've had amazing titles come in, amazing artists. That is definitely one of our biggest things that we focus on. The beauty of the art, how the pieces work together, how they lay out. The story behind them is really important to us because we want to connect with our audience. We want to connect with the people who are coming to your gaming table, and we want to create an environment that is really welcoming and really stands by like the mission of Yellow, which is to play more board games, to bring people together, and to create a board gaming community that's not just the continuous board gamers, but also people who are not as familiar with the board games.
So, since Richard Garfield was the introductory individual, I mean, he's
Yes.
kind of a name in the industry.
Yeah.
Were you both excited and mildly kind of curious when the game that he was going to bring didn't involve buying pack after pack of cards that you needed to?
Yeah. You know, that's really funny, and we actually made a social media post not too long ago about that, where it's just like, here's Magic the Gathering, and then here's Richard Garfield's King of Tokyo. He also created Bunny Kingdom for us as well. It was a little bit of a shift for him, but he actually had that concept for a while, and he had just like been holding on to it, and we started talks with him, and then we decided to, work together on bringing it to life.
Fantastic. Well, then I've got one last question.
Sure.
What is probably of the group of ELO games,
Yeah.
Yellow games,
Yes.
past or potential future, what are your favorites?
Oh my. Okay, I have so many. So I think classics wise that I would consider like we call them evergreen, because we like to be fancy with our terms. King of Tokyo is definitely up there. Let's see. Loot and Run is a good one for me. I really love it. And I think it's like a little underrated by people, but I really like it.
Push Your Luck games definitely have their
Yeah,
place.
it's actually probably the only Push Your Luck game where I've actually won multiple times because I happen to be very unlucky when it comes to those type of games. Strategy all the way, but so I like that. Of the newer games, I'm really excited about our Loki line. Our Loki line is a brand new line for we're calling it Creative Imaginative Fun, and it's kind of like an entryway for kids really to get to know the mechanisms that go into board gaming, and it's fun for the whole family. So tile placement, strategy, all those things are actually elements that we definitely want to emphasize in every game that we have. But I'm really excited about that brand altogether. But my favorite games include Raids. I love that because Vikings and ships, and
Yeah.
I mean,
Can't go wrong there.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with that. And the tokens in the game themselves are pretty heavy, and they're just extremely well made. I love that. I love. There's so many, which is hard. We partnered actually with Scorpion Mask, and we created Zombie Kids Evolution, and that's one of our newest games. And I'm really passionate about that one because it's zombies, and you got like kids with superpowers. So I love the story behind it, and it's just super fun. It's a legacy style game. So I'd say like that, Bunny Kingdom, really a lot of things by Richard Garfield I'm a huge fan about.
Well, he's really good. He's really good.
Yeah, so I mean I could go on forever because they all have so many different elements that I really love to them, but I would say like if I were to sit down right now and play some games, it'd either be like a Bunny Kingdom or a Raids or some of like the Loki brand games like SOS Dino because it's got dinosaurs and it's pretty awesome.
And if those are the actual figs in the game, they look very nicely
Yes,
sculpted.
they have miniatures, and there's 4 different unique dinosaurs, and there's tile placement, a little bit of push your luck concept because you got to draw the right, the tiles from this bag, and then you're trying to get to safety, and there's meteorite strikes that happen and could hurt the dinosaurs, so it's like very real, but also fun.
It's good to introduce death to children as early as possible.
I was playing with a few kids, and one of the dinosaurs got struck by a meteorite, and I was like, "It's sleeping." They're like, "That was such a cute dinosaur. Is it dead?" I'm like, "No, it's sleeping. Please ask your parents about the history of how it got dinosaurs."
That's fantastic. Well, thank you so much for taking a few minutes, and thank you again, Christelle, to also speak with me, and I hope you guys have a great rest of the con.
Thank you so much. You as well.
Right.
Now, wasn't that fun? I had fun. I know it kind of feels like a kind of a Mr. Rogers thing coming back like that, but considering the movie's coming out and all here soon, I felt it.
Yes, but it needs to be like, that wasn't that fun.
Yeah.
And like more of a tender, soothing, reassuring voice.
I don't know if I have that. I have more of the nails on the chalkboard kind of nasal.
Now, wasn't that just a great conversation? That's not Mr. Rogers.
No, but still
He's
same
irreplaceable.
feel. Same feel. I miss Mr. Rogers. That was the best.
But you can watch Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood.
Yeah, I don't know that one. Is that a sports reference?
No, though, that's legitimate. That's what they have now, Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood.
That's the replacement show?
It's a cartoon.
Huh. I didn't even know there was a replacement cartoon. I'm so out of touch.
Yeah.
I'm sure it is fantastic. I am not going to pass judgment until I watch it, and then I will.
Check it out now, PBS Kids.
Yeah. Sounds like you have some personal experience. Well, moving on. I mean, that was great talking with the folks from Yellow, which they taught me that it's Yellow and not ELO, which is really good because, again, I don't just mangle names of people. I mangle names of companies, too.
Yeah, when you say ELO, I immediately thought of Electric Light Orchestra.
Yeah, it was. That's my fault. I messed up. So, next up, one of the bigger manufacturers of games, originally kind of known to a lot of people for their clickies, are kind of what they're called, but Hero Clicks.
Like
was
QUE click?
No, like CLICKIES. That's kind of the nickname. So you've never seen clickies.
No.
Okay, so before we get into the review, because we talk a little bit about the origins of Mage Knight and Hero Clicks, but the whole concept is this: you get these plastic figurines that are suspended on a base. I have some. I of course did not get any out to show on camera because I'm prepared. But
yes, well, I mean, we weren't exactly going to do anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, so the whole concept is they have a variety of these different things. Some of them have to do with Marvel superheroes. Some have to do with DC superheroes. Some have to do with Star Trek. They've got a bunch of different flavors of it. So you'll have the character, and it'll either be a common or an uncommon or a rare or a special or a promo. They each have kind of different band colors. On the base is just this black base, and it has a set of statistics for strength and movement and special abilities, and as they take damage, you click them aside and the stats change. Ooh. Until eventually, the character's dead, and there's little maps that you can get for it, and there's all sorts of just neat stuff that goes along with it, and it's been going strong for quite a long time. In fact, the story that I have told in the past about my worst experience at a convention also happening at an Origins. Not Origins' fault. It's just the stuff around Origins that was terrible that year. That was the year that Hero Clicks came out, and that's sadly been well over a decade ago. It's time flies way too fast. But anyway, so that's kind of their big thing. It's not their only thing. They have a ton of good games, and in fact, the nice individual, Michelle Ellenbacher, took a few minutes to tell me about some of them and some other things. So hopefully you will enjoy this conversation as well.
We're back, Origins 2019, at the WizKids booth with Michelle Ellenbacher. Thank you for taking a moment to talk with us.
Hey, yeah, very excited to be on.
So, WizKids has been around for a little while.
Yep. Been through lots of different stages and all kinds of stuff.
I know when I came to Origins back much longer ago than I care to admit, that the first experience I had was right about the transition between Mage Knight and HeroClix.
Yeah.
And it was called the Origins to Forget in my mind, not because of the convention itself, but just kind of everything else that happened around the convention. But it was a really exciting time at the point with the new history of the games that you were releasing. So I was hoping to maybe get just a little bit about who you are and the history of WizKids.
Yeah, sure. So my name's Michelle. I've been with WizKids about 2 years, a little over that right now. So was not at the Origins to Forget, unfortunately, I guess. But I work mostly in production and logistics on board games, closely with Zev, who is definitely a big part of our growth in the board games bit. Funny you mentioned Mage Knight, because it was just inducted alongside the designer Vlada into the Origins Hall of Fame, and we're super happy.
That was a beautiful game.
Yeah, and Vlada 100% deserves it with because you can design something that's as complex as Mage Knight to code names. And when I made that connection, having known both games before, connecting those two together, my mind was blown. So WizKids, a lot of people think of HeroClix, our biggest line. We've got a huge tournament presence this year, and it's still going strong with some exciting stuff coming up. I'll get questions about, there's this power on this dial. I can't answer those, unfortunately. But in 2016, we've been producing board games here and there previously. Quarriors, Mage Knight, obviously, two of our biggest titles. Mage Knight still going strong. We just released the Ultimate Edition last year.
Was that the first game that WizKids did?
The original Mage Knight, I don't think so. I couldn't tell you the very first one, actually.
Time to research.
It's been a while. But yeah, we added Zev Schlosinger to our roster, and he's really helped build the board game program to where we're releasing some very cool stuff, and our catalog is growing all the time. We've got a bunch of games on demo here today, and I have like 7 or 8 that I keep rotating through the booth coming out.
Well, tell us about a couple. Let's start with a couple of the current popular games that are already released, and talk about those, and maybe move on to some of the really exciting stuff you have coming out next.
Absolutely. So you mentioned Mage Knight. Mage Knight Ultimate has been a big production for us, because besides the giant size of the box and the real big release in the U.S., we localized it into 9 languages and are adding a 10th with Hungarian on the current reprint that's coming on. So it's a very interesting time to work with that many localizers. Zev has connections across a lot of countries, and I mean, besides Mage Knight, we work with our game Fantasy Realms, I think, is in 7 or 8 languages now.
Nice.
All of that, but it's a very interesting experience to work on that. For demo today, we have probably the biggest hit, especially today is Kids Day, is Smash City. Yeah.
What's that? What is that about?
So you are giant kaiju monsters destroying a city. It's a very physical game. You have foam dice with different monster stickers on them. They'll roll different numbers and correspond to different attacks. You are physically destroying a cardboard city. The dice are about 2.5 inches across. The highest building is maybe like 10 inches tall. And you got 8 buildings. You get points for knocking over the buildings, or you get additional cards for knocking over the buildings, but the goal is to get the most victory points by damaging other people and fighting armies that will damage you as the game accelerates.
That sounds like a lot of fun. I can see why that would be popular today.
Yeah, it's definitely a popular demo. Sometimes we'll just have kids want to roll dice. Totally fine. Play how you want. But also for demo, we have Kodachi, a push your luck type game that the designer is local to Origins. He was here the other day demoing it, and we're almost sold through, honestly.
Excellent.
Yeah, but that's out for sale. That just released last week. Also, it's been out for a little bit longer, but Rise and Fall of Anvalor is a kind of like a tower defense game. You're building a city. You got to place your units strategically because once you build a communal city tile, enemies start gathering around the borders of the city and will make an assault across. It's the Warhammer Age of Sigmar universe. So there's 6 different factions. There's 3 different enemies with 4 different modifiers. So there's plenty of variability in the game. And the designer Rustin Håkansson, I probably butchered that, and probably will still butcher it, spent a long time building out the variability of the solo play. It's got a very robust solo play, and the replayability of each time. It comes with tons and tons of tiles. If you pick up the box, it's like 8 pounds.
That's the sign of a good game or a box full of bricks, one of the two.
Yeah, but it's, there's plenty of sprue for the tiles, but there's a lot in there, and the box is well designed. I worked on it myself, and I'm proud of that one, and
Nice.
avoiding a second market insert. No offense, but
Yeah.
yeah.
So, one of the things that I've noticed about WizKids is there tends to be a lot of intellectual property diversity with the game. I mean, you've got the Games Workshop and what we were just talking about. You've got this Nemo Rising that I'm sure we'll talk about here in a minute. That's got some interesting stuff from stories that are existing. You've got Star Trek. You've got the HeroClix, of course. Got the Marvel and the DC. Do you have any experience with any of the complexities of working out those deals with the other companies to use those kinds of rights?
It's different for everyone. It's different licensors will care about different aspects of their line, but we're very well versed in working with these different licensors. As for like Marvel and DC, we've worked with HeroClix for years and years and years, and can expand onto that. Same with Star Trek. Lots of experience, and it's always something we'll keep in mind when looking at new games. Like, that sounds like a Star Trek, or Dungeons and Dragons. So Wizards of the Coast is another big one that we love growing their business with. Rock Paper Wizard is a classic. That one's also been in plenty of languages that we're constantly reprinting, and we have a expansion that just released at the end of last year. That's lots of interest in it. On top of our ever-growing unpainted miniatures line and painted booster bricks.
For those of us with no skill, that's always a daunting thing to see, but it's so pretty when it comes out right.
Yeah.
Well, tell me about a couple of the new games that you are displaying that will be coming out soon.
Yeah, sure. Let's move over here to all of this. So we'll start out with a simple one, Kibble Scuffle. It's $20 price point, but you get a lot of game for it. The box is physically a box of kibble that you shake out cubes each time. It's a base defense game with adorable cat art. So as you place cats around, once you place one each turn, when you get to 5, they eat, but there's only 4 cubes, so one may go home hungry. The discard pile gets recycled, so that's fine. But where you place your cat along the 3 bowls makes a big difference. There's a lot of strategy to it for a adorable cat game.
Strategy and cuteness, a good combination.
Absolutely. But yeah, I don't know if I can clearly communicate it on podcast form, but there's a spout on the box.
We will have a good picture that will go along with this. Anybody that's ever tried to use Cascade or anything else from something like that to wash dishes in a dishwasher or has cats will recognize the spout.
Absolutely.
What about this 3 Dragon Ante? It looks pretty.
Yeah, 3 Dragon Ante, originally released in the early 2000s. We're coming out with our Legendary Edition. It's probably going to be end of August, possibly beginning of September. It's going to have a gorgeous box to match the D&D books. And it comes with tokens, lots and lots of tokens. So you don't have to worry about scrounging up whatever you can find to play like the original edition. We've added a couple cards. The same gameplay is there. It's a great game on its own, or you can play within your D&D game. The rulebook includes rules that maybe your rogue may have an opportunity to sneak an extra card. If you're trained in intimidation, you might be able to intimidate somebody from playing their high card, stuff like that. But we had our D&D detail folks go through it and make sure that it was released during 3rd edition, and just it makes sense during 5th edition as well. But it's great. It's going to be $25. You get a lot with it, and a nice plastic tray to hold all the cards. Yeah.
Fantastic. Now, you were telling me about this poker game, the Sovereign's Chain.
Yeah, Sovereign's Chain. It's kind of like the game you might play in a space station, maybe a little seedy, an in-world poker, almost like Three Dragon Ante in D&D, or whatchamacallit in Star Wars. I can't, the name always slips it. It's a weird type thing. But so there's essentially 2 suits, stars and planets. Each, should I...
Oh, you're fine. This is part of the ambiance, so that people can feel like they're here with us.
Absolutely. The announcements have been funny, at least. They got some fun people doing that. But you start with the card face down, so you're not sure exactly what everyone's plan is at the outset. You start playing cards. Maybe you want to be deceptive. Some let you change suits. Some let you hide a card until the end. Others will let you shuffle stuff around, cover things up. You play out your individual chain or onto other people's chains. Then the game ends as soon as one person gets 7 on their chain. At that point, anything that's upside down pops off. And this mercenary, maybe you don't know what you're going to do, so that one lets you choose a suit for 5 points of that. The runner would let you cover up another card, and surprise, I'm going with high stars here. And there's a lot of deception. I can't even pick a good category for it. It's difficult to really describe and pick a good. Yes, this is a hand management game. This is a something else like that on Board Game Geek. So I just kind of have to describe the mechanics. We've played in the office a couple times, and it's fantastic. There's enough deception. As many times as we played it, there's no I can't think of a way to solve it because it's going to keep varying as you go on.
Well, that's generally the sign of a good game, I would say. Keeps you guessing, keeps you engaged and interested, and each play is a little bit different.
Definitely. You start out and I think I have a bunch of high planet cards in my hand. I'm going to go with that, and then it changes over the course.
Fantastic. And for those of us that we were talking about painting a moment ago, and how I tend to avoid painting unpainted figs because my skill level is just not sufficient to make it look quite as good. You have a game that is Games Workshop related with the Warhammer, with the option of having everything already pre-painted in case you are like me and I would like it to be pretty before I actually start playing it. Tell me a little bit about Relic.
Yeah, so Relic is the well-known version of Talisman, basically, that in the Warhammer 40k universe. So it's an adventure game. You go around the board, the enemies come out. There's different goals you can work towards and effectors on that. But yeah, the miniatures are definitely the biggest thing we're doing. The original print had just busts. We added arms with weapons, and whether you choose the painted or unpainted version, we're releasing both because Warhammer people I hear like to paint things. If you look at the original Board Game Geek page for Relic, it's full of people's awesome paint jobs. So we'll give you that option.
Painting, modding, making it your own.
Yeah, it's impressive. So, or if you do not want to paint like you or I'm learning, but still not that great. There's a pre-painted version. All 10 busts are pre-painted. The detail is gorgeous. Obviously a higher price point, but you pay for a little bit more quality and your time. But yeah, we're really happy with how they came out. The one that we have here, and you'll get a photo of at least,
Absolutely.
is the production copy. So it's not like we just pick the best one. This is what you get. But the other, we didn't really touch the rulebook. It's already got plenty of finesse to it, and we upgraded some cards that were previously just cardstock to full punch board. So hopefully
Fantastic.
They don't break. But let's see. We've also got Merlin's Beast Hunt, which is releasing. Most of these are releasing August. Let's see, Kibble Scuffle's July. And I'll tell you some more about some other ones. Merlin's Beast Hunt is also August. It comes with a ton of dice in different colors. Everyone gets custom dice that have a unicorn and different elemental symbols on them. You roll the dice, and if you get 2 of the same, you can build a base of a wall, and from there, as long as you have a matching wall card, start to make a pen. There's different beasts that'll come out onto the board, move around, do all of this. So it's essentially like that game you might have played when you were a kid with a grid of dots. You draw the lines between them and then sign your initial in the middle, but this time it's a mythical beast and a little bit more complicated.
Well, that's pretty, and this looks like it'd be a very popular one for kids. Gives them something to kind of grasp onto and visually engage with.
Yeah, the sample we have here is pre-production. The final cards are definitely going to be transparent with the translucent art on them, but rounded corners. And at the end, you get points for a couple things. For every beast you capture, they come off the board after you capture them, and you get the points, as well as when you build walls, whether it's braced completely with your color, you get more points. Whether you match every side, that's other points. And also,
it gives you some complexity to go with.
Yeah, it's relatively quick. A lot of dice rolling, they're all these custom dice in different colors. And when somebody runs out of the dice of their color, the game ends.
So then we go from the mythic to the potentially scary.
Yeah, it's a little terrifying. A lot of people saw it in, walking by. They're like, "What is that? Tell me about it." And either they're terrified and want it, or love horror and also want it. So Haka-Onna is a game that we localized from the original Japanese game of the same name. It literally means box girl. It was printed 4 different editions in Japan, sold a whole bunch. I don't have the exact numbers, but it's a horror game that does a really great job at creating suspense. People keep asking about it. I say, we'll do a demo at the end of the day. And I've had people come back and just watch. So it's a 1 versus all mechanic. One person plays the Haka-Onna. She doesn't get a meeple, everyone else does. I've described it as, imagine a betrayal haunt for the ring, but not really. She's hiding in a box. Mm-hmm. So you go around, there's a bunch of tiles out on the board, and you're peeking at them. So maybe you find an item, maybe you find a piece of the safe to unlock the door, or maybe you find her diary tile that unlocks more powers for her. So it kind of accelerates the game as it goes on. But if you peek at her, you die immediately, and you become her servant, kind of a Hakobito. Your tile also goes on the board, and you both move around, switching out. So as the Haka-Onna, I would pick it up, put an item there. You can, the Haka-Onna wins if she kills everyone. The players win if they can find her weakness and kill her. If they can escape the house by unlocking the safe and getting the key, or if they reunite her body with her spirit doll. There's a lot of creepy diary entries about this doll that you have to figure out. It's not really a mystery, they tell you, but it's still creepy to read.
Yeah, that makes it fun. Especially if you want something that's going to be a little bit different. This seems like it's very much for the game, for the group that maybe has tried a lot of the regular stuff and wants to branch out. Now, for the gaming group that is comprised of people that like to throw things at each other, you also have a game that kind of fits with that.
Ooh, can I tell you one more thing about Haka-Onna, though?
Sure.
There's a dexterity component in it. I'm
right.
How did I skip this? It creates so much tension. We have 5 discs out, and there's a higher level one that has a larger blip. So there's I call it a blip, it's like a half pearl thing, and each turn you have to stack a disc on top of the pearl. So player 1 goes, you stack this disc. Player 2 goes, you have to stack it on top. Player 3 gets one with the little half pearl on it to stack, which makes it uneven. And when you fall, you make noise, and the Haka-Onna immediately takes her turn. So maybe you can stack them all, and you can hold her off for a while, but probably not.
Yeah, in my gaming group, she'd kill us in about 3 rounds if I was
if you suck with the dexterity component, or you're playing on a train, or you have hand mobility issues, there is a card option as well where you flip over cards until they reach 11. It's 1 through 6, so
that's
you
solid.
get at least 2 turns.
Yeah.
Or if you just get sick of it, which some people do. What else do we have? So if you're a Star Trek fan, we have Conflict in the Neutral Zone, which is a dexterity game that is designed by Mike Elliott, who is a Gamma Hall of Famer and a well-known designer. A lot of people are surprised at dexterity, but it's a very clever game. You have a board with a large board with different planets, like circles on it, and a bunch of tokens representing different Star Trek ships. You'll recognize a lot of them, maybe some not. I didn't, even though I'm like a Star Trek fan. Yeah. The ships aren't my biggest interest.
Sometimes they're in like a single episode, so it's kind of hard to really know all of them.
Exactly. But you start out with basic ships. Others you will gain currency over time in those little yellow crystals that you can use to buy larger and more complicated ships with a whole bunch of different powers. Maybe they let you flick twice. Maybe they let you flick from somewhere else. Maybe you can hold your ship as a defense mode. There's also asteroids you can place to kind of strategically like block people from
get in the way.
You.
Yeah.
But that one's coming out in July. It's almost like we're getting it
right about there.
Yep. But it's a lot of fun, and I'm not a Dex game person.
Yeah, I like I said, if it comes down to dexterity, I'm generally going to have some problems.
Yeah, I tend to flick things way too hard, and I hit people, and I'm like, I'm so sorry, I'm terrible with this.
Yep, put out an eye. Mm-hmm. All right, well, let's finish out strong. Let's talk about one more that is of your preference. Do you?
Okay.
Which of these do you think is the big draw?
Can I do two real quick?
Yeah, I guess.
Nemo Rising is an adventure game coming out in September, designed by Andrew Parks and Matthew Catron. I'm not sure how to say it, but it's based on, it's like if you like steampunk, it's very steampunk. It's an adventure game that plays relatively quickly. You play different characters from C. Courtney Joyner's novel of the same name, Nemo Rising, that so Nemo, Ulysses S. Grant are two of the main characters. His novel is a continuation of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. So haven't read it personally, but I've had like a couple fans come up and they say like, oh, I hear he's making a game, I want to see. But you explore the map. There's two different scenarios, a bunch of different, like you're either in like an engine room or under the sea, and so two completely different things there. Also, like tons of different mission cards that'll change the game every time. Enemies come out in a relatively random way, so they might stack up, and they move around the board. But it plays in about 45 minutes, and it's coming out in September.
Another very pretty looking game.
Yeah, hopefully you get a good picture of some of the art on it, the tray, all of that. Palm trees I can talk about real quick, that's why I'm saying two. So
who doesn't like palm trees?
I actually met somebody who's like, our friend hates palm trees. We need to play this game. And I'm like, I don't want to ask. But so it is, we jokingly call it a hand management game because you start out with 3 cards and they each have a point value and a hand indicated on there. And you have to hold it between those fingers or in that way indicated on the card. So I have like pinky and middle finger, and then this one is index and palm. But they get a little zanier as time goes on.
So it's Twister just for the hand.
Hand Twister, yes. Mm-hmm. That is one way people have described it. But you start out with palm leaves, and you eventually go to coconuts, which this one can't touch your hand. This one you have to hold between your hand and head, which isn't that hard, but now you can't see anything. It plays quickly. When somebody drops all of their cards, you're assigning them to each other to try and, you can't use those fingers. How are you going to do this? Well, one thing is they're PVC, so you can like bend them around stuff.
That's good.
They're not completely indestructible, but this has been played by tons of people all weekend, and it's still in good shape.
It looks like it's in really good shape.
Yeah, and if they do get a little bent, you just flex them out. The other fun thing is that it comes with a tattoo sleeve that looks like the trunk of a palm tree. So as you hold it in your hand, you build your own palm tree. It might be a little funky looking palm tree, but that's how it goes. When somebody drops all their cards, everyone else counts up their points. So harder ones tend to be more points. So you might be screwing somebody over, but if they make it till the end, you might be helping them.
That's funny.
This is $20. It's selling super well today. But it's releasing in July, at the beginning of July, just because of distribution timing.
Oh, yeah.
And fun fact.
Yeah.
Well, the designer was here to demo it, and it's been a lot of fun, like talking with him. The palm tree on the sleeve is actually a picture of Zev's palm tree, like from his yard, that we edited to like the right dimensions to be the sleeve.
Nice.
So it's just a fun game overall. It's great with kids, have fun with it. Your drunk friends will have fun with it, and it's just like it's a quick game to play between things too. So $20, and we've been selling through a bunch. So.
Well, that sounds like a lot of fun. All of them actually sound like they could fit anybody's game group, and and even if you're not a gamer, as I believe a chunk of our listeners have not really engaged into the tabletop, WizKids is a great place to start. Truthfully, anybody that we've talked to has been a great place to start, but I've always been a big fan of the WizKids stuff.
Awesome.
So thank you so much for taking a few minutes to talk with us.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for listening to me rant on about all of these games I'm so excited about. It's, a great time working for WizKids. Little bit of a dream job. Still very stressful, but a little bit of, everything is, though.
Well, anything that's worth pursuing is going to have a little bit of that stress associated with it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for talking with us.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And we're back.
And we're back.
Wasn't that lovely? See, I still can't do it. It's just not not my bag. Not my bag, baby.
No.
That's also not my bag, because that was a terrible impression.
Gosh, what was I thinking about? I had some other Austin Powers thought earlier on in the morning, too. It's like the same. Okay, it was maybe a Beyonce reference, because we were talking about The Lion King, and that's another story.
Yes, that is another story. I love Beyonce, by the way.
I don't mind Beyonce as an artist and performer.
We'll leave it there.
Yeah, okay.
In fact, he's going to be doing one of our first movie reviews from Richard specifically coming up here, too. Going to do a little review of Lion King. That'll be a lot of fun, too.
Preview.
A little preview. But we're going to take this opportunity, just real quick, to remind our listeners and hopefully our viewers that you can catch us in a lot of different locations. Sometimes we can be on Twitch. We will let you know when that happens a little ahead of time. Richard does a good job of making sure that people are aware of things on Instagram. What are we on Instagram, Richard?
Pudding Guys.
We are the Pudding Guys. That's the same thing we are on Facebook as well. And you can catch us, of course, on Twitter as @RealPuddingGuys. And then maybe the most important, or at least the newest of the different places you can see us, is our Patreon page. Please come visit us. We are going to have more and more stuff on the Patreon as we go. We're keeping it pretty limited first. I mean, right now we're having a single place where you can donate to the Pudding Guys to help us create what we're creating today. Just something simple, $1 per month. You can't even get a Coke for $1 per month unless you're buying like the grocery store 2-liter special bottles. And that's about it. That's about it that you can get with $1 nowadays. But it definitely helps us, and it will be great. We're going to have some advertising options coming up shortly on Patreon, and some other special things that you're going to be able to get. But pop on by, and we would love to see you and see your commentary. And of course, we also have a website.
www.puddingguys.com.
That's right. We were almost in sync there. That's the important thing.
Close.
We are on the same page of different.
Just off the cuff,
But yeah, come on, leave some messages. We have a forum. If you have a movie review, leave your movie review in your style or in our style. We'll respond. We'll see it. It is a community we are wanting to build.
Mm-hmm.
But until next time, keep on playing games, roll some dice, have some fun, squeeze your family. We'll see you next time. Cringeworthy? Ship.